This is where we hold them. This is where we fight. This is where they die. And these Shield boys. Remember this day, man, for it will be yours for all time.
GM and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're taking a look at the latest Binance Launchpad. It goes live in 2 days time on the 28th of April. It's called Open Campus, kind of a new narrative being spun up by Binance here with education on the blockchain. And this fits nicely into CZ's key for the year 2023. Remember 1, 2, 3, and of course you'll remember number 4, the FUD. Well, number 1 was education. We'll dive into that in just a sec. So let's see what this launchpad is about and if we can blueprint this against the recent launchpads since the turn of this market cycle. I'm counting the FTX blow up as a bit of a turn in the market here as we've gone from a clear bear market into some form of transitionary market. Since then, we've had Hooked Protocol launch in December on Binance Launchpad, and then Space ID here in March. And now we have this EDU launching in 2 days time. If you enjoy the content today, please make sure you do subscribe to the channel. And if you're new here, drop a GM in the comment section down below. Make yourself known. Let's get the GMs rolling and keep this positive energy flowing. So on screen, you have my CoinGecko list of the recent launchpads. As mentioned, these are from Hooked Protocol, 1st of December. This one kicked off. Space ID, I think it was around the 20th of March. And here, EDU, which is launching in just 2 days time. So a lot of interesting facts to look at with all of these and a bit of spot the difference between them as well. So introducing the Open Campus EDU token sale on Binance Launchpad. This one kicks off as the 31st Binance Launchpad, and recording of users' BNB balances will start on the 23rd through to the 28th of April. So you have to have BNB on the Binance exchange to potentially get an allocation in this. It is always very overcrowded. And I mean, you're going to have like 100 grand's worth plus of BNB in your account to get any decent allocation to these. So it is really for the whales, I would suggest. And the minnows out there, you're better off just looking for this to actually launch and see if there's trading opportunities. I wouldn't really suggest trying to accumulate BNB tokens for this purpose. There's a lot of people who got in very cheap. Now, overall stats here, the ticker is EDU. EDU is currently not trading, but there are some scams out there, so do be aware. 28th of April is when it launches. The hard cap will be $2.5 million of raise via Binance. That is their normal amount. The total supply will be 1 billion of these tokens, and 5% of them are allocated to the launchpad. Again, that is standard for these, and the price will be at 5 cents per token. Typically, these fly straight out the gates when they launch on Binance. So don't go expecting to get this for 5-10 cents. You're going to have to pay quite a bit more, I expect. Now, here is the website opencampus.xyz. This is almost like an open university coming with a Web3 twist. I think we're going to hear the term proof of education or proof of learning coming out of the back of this, due to the fact that is one of the obvious glaring opportunities with this. You can prove that you've consumed content, maybe do quizzes, tests, that kind of stuff. Now, there's going to be these publisher NFTs, so creators can come here, create content, and get paid in the EDU token. So you can see the circular economy around the token straight out the gates. Now, this seems to have a lot of ties with other Binance-related things such as Hooked Protocol. We have Animoca brand sniffing around. We'll show you that in just a second. And they've also got some bigwigs from education in the wide, like mainstream, not just Web3 kind of thinking around this. So big first initial eye drawer is this. So they have onboarded the first kind of client. So imagine it as this. Open Campus will be somewhere where a lot of people come and want to consume content. Now, if you're a company, you can plug your content into this, and then people will pay for that content, maybe on a subscription basis or on a one-of-one kind of basis. In the EDU token, presumably the protocol then will take a cut of that, but you'll be paid the rest for the consumption of your content. So content can be very lucrative in terms of how it sells, because I'm assuming Binance will get a lot of eyes on this platform. Now, they have tapped into this, excuse the pun, tiny tap. They're the first adopter here of Open Campus Protocol, pioneering the first ever content ownership on the blockchain, the publisher NFT. They already come here as a top 10 kids app worldwide with 250,000 interactive lessons and 100,000 content creators already. So this one should get going straight out the gates. On the TinyTap website, you can see they are partnered with Animoca Brands. This is a very successful company in its own right, and they've generated a lot of NFT sales already. You can see some of these stories, etc., selling for like 2 grand, 16 grand, 47 grand, so on and so forth. So it obviously has proof of concept within this. Now on this as well, you can see the likes of Sesame Street, Oxford University Press, some big names on here. And then we see Mockaverse from Animoca Brands, Gems, and a few other similar names down here as well. High Street, this is a metaverse launched by Binance. Hooked Protocol, the previous December Launchpad. Sandbox, another brainchild of Yatsu. And if we go to the council here, you can see Yatsu is on the board. Yogev Shelley from TinyTap also on the board. Jay Varkley, a member of GEMS, a private school network in the Middle East and north of Africa. And Jack down here, who is also a member of KIP Public Schools, a network of 280 public charters with 15,000 educators. You get the drill. They've got some deep ties here, and I would assume this does get going straight out the gates in terms of the platform. There's a full white paper document if you do want to check that out, but the main focus here is to think about the concept. Initially, of course, education is an all-encompassing term. It's not just going to be about Web3 based content, although I'm sure that is kind of the pipe, the kind of filter we're moving towards. Get people in learning about general education and then try and give them that Web3 red pill down the line. And this is how we get the next billion users into crypto. I'm sure that is the way of thinking. But a news headline I did see recently was Thailand enforcing some form of crypto education for investors before they're allowed to invest. And so I think we're starting to see the early stages of a new narrative around education on the blockchain start to take life. Typically, Binance has the power to really kickstart new narratives. EDU token distribution wise, you can see this will inflate quite quickly, but this is typical for their launch pads, with a lot of tokens going towards the ecosystem fund, this kind of light blue here, and the amber, which is liquidity as well. So high inflation with these typically not a huge problem, and you'll actually see the token distribution is very similar for this token and the previous ones on the launch pad, Hooked and ID. Open Campus did post a little bit of a thread here. They've had some huge growth over the last 24, 48 hours. They say we're going to be the first layer 1 of Web3 education. And we're going to see some of the biggest educators in the world tokenizing on this platform. So super interesting. TinyTap, of course, being their flagship, the ones that are coming straight to the app. And it says this app is already a top 5 unique active wallets on the BNB chain. So there's obviously a huge demand for this straight out the gates. 8.5 mil has been raised in venture from the likes of Sequoia, Kingsway Capital, LC Ventures, and Polygon. And if you just go down a little bit further, we can see from this that CZ posted his kind of key for the year. And number 1 on there was 1. Education, and of course 4 FUD. Hence this could be a key narrative, and typically you don't lose when you get involved in the launchpads. So recently we saw the launch of Space ID, the ID being a ticker for that one, bnb.eth.arb domain-based names. This one did a flyer straight out the gates. Similar, this one has about 15% of tokens currently in circulation. So they all start with a low float and they inflate out over time over like a 4-year vest period. Market cap of this is 202 mil. As you can see from this, a big wick at the start. Price is up, cools off, doesn't dip too far down, and then we get explosive price action up to $1. Again, this has the same blueprint. Space ID launched. Total supply was 2 billion tokens this time. They do the 5% of all tokens going to the launchpad, and one ID costs 2.5 cents. That means the fully diluted valuation at launch is $50 million. Over on EDU, 1 billion tokens at 5 cents is a $50 million fully diluted valuation. We go to Hooked Protocol, same thing, 500 million tokens, 5% total supply, goes to the launchpad, initial price 10 cents, that's a $50 million fully diluted valuation. Then back to Space ID, you will see from the details in the docs, a lot of the tokens are locked for the first year. So you kind of have a very similar blueprint with these. It's very similar for Hooked, if I bring up the emissions for Hooked as well. First 12 months, you get most of the tokens locked, and then it vests out a bit more quickly. So I think we're seeing this kind of same scenario, low float amount of tokens, and they have the ability to get a nice pump. So this is Hooked here. currently trading at $2. The market cap, 100 mil. FDV now 1 billion, i.e. it's done a 20x. We go to max on here. Launches from 10 cents, goes up to $2, cools off down to $1, goes all the way up to almost $4, back down to around 2, where it currently sits. So takeaways from this, it seems that gated content and education is now a thing that people are willing to pay for. Check Twitter with their payments for subscriptions. And it's about time we had a Web3 crypto-enabled education platform. Hence, we have Binance stepping in here. Digital identity and hooked protocol, which is kind of gamified learning, all fits into what EduCoin and Open Campus are going to be doing. So it seems they're bringing together all the pieces of the economy here. All of them launch at a $50 million fully diluted valuation, and they do very well straight out the gates. You're not going to be able to buy the token straight out the gates without getting wrecked probably, but you want to wait for it to have a little bit of a cool off. But what we've seen from then, if we look at the charts, Space ID did not trade under a 17x, and at maximum it went all the way up here, and that is a 40x from IDO price. Then we have Hooked Protocol. It did not trade below an 11x from the initial token offering, 10 cents up to $1.10, and then it went all the way up to 380, a 38x. So if Edu launches at 5 cents, I expect at minimum it's going to trade at a 10x post that valuation there, so 50 cents per token. And we've seen these do from like a 38x to a 40x at max. So this one could top out if it does follow the same blueprint around $2. Just as a bit of a mental model here, but what I'm seeing is we have Binance able to pump these coins like crazy. They often hit brand new narratives. They have low floats and lots of interest in them because of course they're listed on Binance. They have tons of eyeballs, and it seems they have been very generous in the gains they've been able to give people. So this one is truly on the watch list for dips to be bought, as I do think we will see a big run up in this token price at some stage, like we saw with Hooked and like we saw with ID. So drop me a comment down below. What do you think of Open Campus here? Is this one going to be a banger? Yes or no? Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Hit me up in the comments with a GM down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.